What is up, ONECast? Welcome back. Today we are continuing our relationship series, and today I am here with Avery Larmore, and we are going to be talking about friendships. And I'm really excited for this because friendships does play a part with relationships as well. So let's just get into it. Avery, my first question is, what would you define as friendship? Like, what does friendship look like to you?
Well, for me, I think it's just someone I can always depend in and, just trust, honest. I want someone who's gonna be honest to me. Just someone who's just completely open, caring, and cares for you. That's how I define it for myself.
For me, I would definitely agree. I definitely think somebody that you can pretty much confide in with anything, but also someone who's gonna hold you accountable for your actions as well. Something I think that plays a big part in high school is also friendships. So I kind of wanted to talk about when you transition from middle school to high school, you tend to lose some friendships. Have you ever gone through that, or is that just?
Well, yes. So when I was I came from a really small middle school. I went to Pittsville, and there was barely any people there, and we were always around the same people. So when I went into high school, it was a huge change for me. I didn't have any classes with the friends I made because I kept it really small, which was my first mistake. Because when I went into high school, I was super surprised, but it opened up a whole new side of me too, because I was never loud like I am now in high school. So when I went into high school, I only had one really good friend. We didn't have any classes together, and that immediately caused a big drift in us, and I haven't really talked to her since. But it also opened up a lot of new friends for me in high school.
Yeah, I would definitely agree with that. I came from a pretty regular sized middle school. So transforming when you have a good amount of friends and then you're just kind of starting over and having to make those new friends. And I wasn't really involved in any clubs either, so it was kind of a little bit more difficult. And not only that, I started high school off really bad, really bad. And so going into high school, I was really excited because I thought it would bring myself and my best friend much closer. But kind of like you said, we didn't have any classes together. We weren't in any clubs, so it was really difficult, and we didn't really get to see each other. And our friendship kind of just kept going downhill. She knew I was still her friend no matter what, but it's just that it kind of felt like a loss in a way, because it's you're not talking anymore, you don't see each other as much, you don't have those classes anymore. How do you deal with friendship loss?
Well, I didn't really expect it, so when it came, it hit me like a bus, and at first I was sad about it. But also I realized I had to move on because things happen for a reason. That's a big thing for me. So when going into high school, I met a really good friend of mine. You probably know who she is, Asa. I love her. I met Asa, and she automatically became one of my best friends. And it was I thought it would be hard for me to go into high school like that, but freshman year was my best year because I met Asa, and it changed a lot for me. So I guess I just got lucky.
Okay. Yeah, for me, dealing with friendship loss, it almost feels like a breakup.
Yeah.
You know how you break up with your boyfriend, you're sad, whatever. That is kind of how a friendship breakup feels to me. And I went through that sophomore year, I think. And I went from seeing this person every single day, we're always hanging out, we're always talking, whatever, to barely speaking to her. And to me, that's really hard.
Yeah.
And dealing with that, especially because that's the person you confide in the most, it's really difficult. And I don't think really anything could have prepared me, because it's not I met her in middle school. I met her in high school, and I started high school kind of with her, so just kind of going through that, it was really difficult, especially because I wasn't saying I don't have a lot of friends, but that was just my main person.
Yeah.
Something else I think is really important with friendships is quality over quantity. Let's talk about that. Would you do you look for a certain quality? What's the quality you look for in your friends?
Well, the whole quality over quantity thing, first off, my mom always told me, she was like, Avery, it's better to have 4 quarters over 100 pennies.
No, I would say the same thing, 100%.
So with that, what kind of qualities I look for is, I'm not really particular about it, but I like when just people are honest, open, caring for me. Because just like any relationship with your family or something like that, just being close with them and allowing that is what I think.
No, I would definitely agree with that. I would rather have like a few good friends who I know like I can go to them like no matter what, versus just like having a bunch of friends and I don't even know their birthdays, you know what I mean? And I think like with high school that's really important because people get so caught up and wanting to be known and just like wanting to have like a certain title, wanting to be popular, whatever, and they don't really think about like what kind of friends they actually have. So I'm glad you talked about that a little bit. My next question would probably be, what's like one thing that's happened with like a friendship that has impacted you the most?
I think what I was talking about earlier about going into high school and middle school, and I only had like one really good friend, and that kind of changed my outlook on friends because I was like, I thought friends were like forever, but obviously it went away like within a second. So it really did show me to kind of just enjoy the time you do have with your friends, and if they actually care and actually like want to spend that time with you, they will put effort into it, and it taught me that lesson.
I think something that's definitely impacted me is just like growing apart from someone, because it's like I said, like you start off really close and it just kind of seems like as time goes on you just spread more apart. That and watching them change in front of your eyes. Like I don't know, but like when I was a freshman I was extremely closed-minded, and if someone did something I did not like, I would be done with them. I was like, that's completely not me, that doesn't relate to who I am. And I kind of dropped the idea of loving them at a distance and just kind of completely cut them off. And I think that's something I definitely regret the most, because one of my friends was like clearly struggling with something and dealing with it in an unhealthy way. And I guess since I had my own version of unhealthy, I thought it was better to just like not talk to her as opposed to being like, hey, like I want to help you or whatever, or just even loving her at a distance. So yeah, I know we're both in high school, so what's like a piece of advice that you would give like someone in like one youth, or just someone in general with like friendships and all of that?
I think, like for me, I just think when I was in middle school, I was extremely shy and really in my own kind of closed bubble, and I kind of convinced myself to stay in it. I never convinced myself to kind of go out and reach out to other people, because I thought I was fine in the situation I was in, but when I got out of it, like I realized I didn't have anyone. So I think just being extremely like open-minded and being more accepting to more people coming into your group and your bubble, as long as they're like good people.
I definitely would agree with that, especially because I was really closed-minded before I started to coming to One Youth. Like I was not open to anything, and my biggest piece of advice would honestly just to like be yourself, because at the end of the day there's always going to be that person who loves you for who you are. And I've said this before and I'll say it a million times, don't lower your standards for anyone, friendships, relationships, whatever. Don't ever lower them, because they need to always be high. But my biggest piece of advice would to just be yourself undeniably. Don't apologize for who you are regardless. And I definitely think coming into One Youth, I grew so much. You came into One Youth and you grew, and I kind of wanted you to talk about that a little bit, because I feel like you've like made so many like new friends.
Oh, yes, I have. And I love making new friends. I didn't used to. I hated making new friends or talking to people. I always kept to myself. But like when I came into One Youth, well, Asa offered me to come, and at first I was like, but then I changed my mind and I was like super down to go. And when I went, I was super nervous, but like she showed me and everyone introduced me, and now that I'm like friends with everyone, and I feel like it's my kind of place to just kind of relax and just like enjoy learning all these new things and being welcomed in a community. And usually when I'm in a community, I'm not loud or like, but I'm loud here. I'm really loud, and I talk and I do everything that I usually did not do.
Right. So like I think you're more extroverted. Like when I first met you, I thought you were more introverted. But since you're more extroverted, what do you think is kind of like the tricky side of that? Like when it comes to friendships, like what would you say? Because you're an extrovert.
The tricky side of well, for me, it's kind of like I'm more introverted when I don't know you. So when I don't know you, I won't say as much or I won't talk as much. But when I get to know you and I know like who I am around you and who I can be around you, I get more extroverted.
Yeah.
So for me, I feel like it's just breaking the like that weird kind of beginning stage of it. You know, it's like just keep getting to know the person and then you can truly be yourself around them, I think.
I'm more of an extrovert. I love talking to people. I could talk for days. But I think something that like, as like an extrovert, I guess you could say that kind of makes me nervous is maybe I'm too much. Like, because I talk to like some shy people and I'm like, okay, maybe I need to tone it down. And I think that's like the hard part because like you said, like sometimes you're introverted. I think I'm introverted for like the first 5 minutes that you know me. And then after I'm just like, I can't stop. Like, I don't know how to stop. And I think that can be like really difficult sometimes because I'm just like, maybe I'm embarrassing myself a little bit.
I don't think so. I think you're really good at like meeting new people.
Oh, thank you.
Makes them comfortable.
Thank you. Another thing I kind of wanted to talk about is so we have like, I don't want to say like our church friends, but like I have my fair share of friends that are Christian and I'm sure you have your fair share that are Christian and then the ones are not. Would you like, can you like compare and contrast a little, like what that's kind of like a little bit?
I don't really like think it's really a big difference for me. Like my friends are my friends and I don't want to like push anyone to like believe or come or whatever. So I don't really differentiate the two. I just keep them close.
I would agree with that. I think I definitely see like little like that much of a difference. And I think sometimes when it comes to friends and not sharing like the same beliefs, morals, whatever, some people can be really closed-minded. And I mean, I've had friends that'll tell me like they don't necessarily believe in God, but that's not going to affect me and that's not going to affect what I believe in. So I definitely think that's really important. But I want to thank you so much for coming to talk with me. I also want to thank you for being really open and vulnerable. I really appreciate it. Thank you all so much for watching. We have so much more coming for our relationship series. Keep watching. And yeah, thank you.